warrior. I am so excited today because returning to our platform is Kristen Cobo. Kristen is a clinical social worker, private consultant, New Jersey, Morris County Moms for Liberty chair, everybody. And she was just telling me over 900 members. We got to get into that. Parental rights advocate, mom. One of the biggest jobs in the world is being a mom today. And one of our biggest warriors that we just adore, fighting for children, families, to keep everybody safe. Tagline, and I took this, Kristen, actually from your X account, Twitter. When it comes to the safety of our children, we will not be silenced. Amen, Kristen. I have to say that. We need every warrior out there to follow along. To share, the website is defendparentalrights.org. And also follow and support Kristen and the great work on X. Everybody knows by now that is also Twitter. I have to keep telling people that, at Cobo. You see her name right there, Cobo, Kristen, and all of this information and more will be in the body of the video. Welcome, Kristen Cobo, back to the Warriors.
Thanks so much for having me, Lynn. I'm honored to be back.
Well, I've been kind of like for the last month, incredibly busy, as we all are, as you are, I know. And I'm like, I got to get to Kristen. I got to get, there's so much happening in Jersey. I still maintain, although I live in New York City, it's my beautiful home state, Kristen. I actually think it's more crazy going on things in New Jersey than are happening in New York, which is pretty remarkable for me to think this. So I want to jump right in. But first I want to start with something that I was totally unaware of until I was reviewing all of your material. And that is, there's a very exciting event coming up in Washington, D.C. on August 31st with a dear friend of the Warriors, Dr. Alveda King, the March for Kids. And is it true this is the first March for Kids ever in DC like this? Tell us about this.
Yeah. So we're super excited at Moms for Liberty because we are actually in DC that weekend for our annual summit. So we will all be together and we will be marching for the children. I think it's about time.
It's overdue. What are you talking about? Like, I'm like, really? This is the first time? And then I thought about it. I'm like, not in the last 5-10 years that I can remember any kind of direct march like this, parental autonomy and the safety and bringing groups together. I'm investigating all now, but I will be there in some capacity.
Great.
So absolutely. Great. And bringing warriors with me. So that is something we'll have to talk about. Now, I want to ask you about, we've got to go into, I know he's a friend of yours. I love him to pieces, Bill Spadia.
Yes.
I would say to him for, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 years now, Bill, when are you running for governor? Bill, when are you running for governor? And he'd always be like, we'll see. And I'd be like, I know you're going to do it. So tell us your thoughts on this, because it's a common sense platform. It really is that simple. Common sense, families, kids, give parents, guardians, the autonomy. Fill us in. What do you want to say about Bill Spadia? I know you're close to him. I know he just did a rally. I don't know if it was last night, the night before. I'm so excited about this. I'm going to figure out, this is terrible, how to vote for him, even though I don't live there.
So Bill is a great friend. Bill and Jody have been such a great support in the parental rights movement. I think the thing that most people don't know is they've been in this game and doing work behind the scenes for so many years before he even decided to run for governor. So he's really somebody who is completely for the people, for parental rights, for police, for the teachers, for the nurses. I mean, he's stood beside us all over the years and really has been, I think, one of the number one parental rights advocates in my book, because we've been at this with Moms for Liberty since 2021. And Bill was one of the first to come and say, what can I do? He gave us a voice anytime anything would go on in the state with attacking parental rights. He would be the first to say, let's talk about it on air. Let's get people engaged. Let's get people involved. He's the first one to say during campaigns, I'll door knock with you. I want to get involved. I want to be at the grassroots level. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for Bill and his wife, Jody, who are such a great team. New Jersey would be so lucky to have them leading us. And I think that he has a great chance. He's in it for the right reasons, and he's an outsider, and that's what we absolutely love about him.
You brought up a good point. So many people, yourself, others, have been in this for a while. I'm noticing, which is a good thing because I'll kind of take anything that's positive, moving the narrative. I try to follow me through on this one. People jumping on board lately about even child safety on the internet.
Right.
When I'm starting to see it on that shocking mainstream media news, our Surgeon General did just put out a memo about we should have a warning label on social media. I'm glad you brought up about Bill. I want to point out yourself, others have been in this for a long time. This is, not jumping on the bandwagon. This has been the fight, and I'm going to call it a fight that shouldn't even be a fight. Well, we'll leave that for another program, all this craziness. But I am so excited because I do have a lot of family members in New Jersey, a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll just have to be rallying and pushing them to vote for Bill, because unless I sneak in there, Kristen, for the vote, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to say anything that'll get Bill upset. Now, also, I thought of you immediately, fairly recently, when there was an update about librarians and libraries. What is going on with all of that?
Yeah, so our case continues to drag on. We are headed towards depositions. So it's a long, lengthy process in this legal system. Things don't move fast. And we are just nearing, hopefully, the end of discovery. So about 15, 16 months in, we're still at it.
Well, I'm going to point out, stop me if you want, that all of these type of things, these other, I'm just going to say, this is my opinion, these other crazies, whatever they are, tie everybody up. That's part of their game plan always, and bankrupting people and just keep at it. They bully. I think they're a bunch of bullies. So I want to point out to all of our warriors out there, it is very important to support Kristen, to support this. If you can donate, I'm pushing all of you. I don't care if it's $5. We've got to do it. We've got to show up in numbers. Go to defendparentalrights.org. Read about this, see what you can do, because Kristen needs help. And I'm saying that because I so believe in what you're doing, and I'm trying to win the lottery every week to give you money. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And Lynn, I think that's a great point, because in our opinion, this lawsuit brought against us for parents in our town was really an attempt to silence us. Yes. And I do think that they thought, these parents are relentless. They're coming out, they're talking about what's going on in the schools. And of course they don't want that. They don't want this to be exposed. So I think that this is just one of the tactics to try to get people to back down, and it didn't work. We're not going to be silent. And I think that at the end of the day, more people need to find that inner strength and know that at the end of the day, what matters most is your children's safety and the safety of all of our children in this state and in this country. And people are losing sight of that. And I know it's not easy to get called names. I know it's not easy to walk out in your town and have people say things about you that aren't true, but we have to rise above that. We are stronger than that, and we're stronger together.
Yeah, power in numbers. And I also like to remind everybody, Kristen, more people, as I travel the country and do our warriors work, believe it or not, more people, they don't know a lot of people about me, what I do, even more people are like us. It's about family. It's about protecting kids. It's about, isn't this horrible, things going on, whether it's school, whether it's, borders, whether it's libraries, they're like us. It's not like what is portrayed for the most part, those loud, obnoxious voices that frankly have a lot of money behind them to just disrupt people like us. So I think that's a good thing. And we've got to bring those voices forward. I know you're doing it. We're doing it. It's going to happen. The pendulum is definitely swinging. I feel it in this election year. Now, let me ask you. I mentioned before the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, just put out, he would like to see a warning label like we have on tobacco products, cigarettes, for social media. This is brand new. As a mom, as working in the community with other moms, grandmas, and families, what's your feeling on this?
So I feel very strongly about this. I am totally against social media for children. I even say they don't need it anywhere before. I mean, they don't need it at all, but it's very dangerous. And I think that parents should hold off letting them have it till at least 16. I worked with kids my entire career, and we slowly watched the mental health, their mental health decline, and the anxiety and the depression rates go higher and higher as electronics and technology became a bigger part of their lives in social and in school. So we know that the steady increase in anxiety, there's a lot of factors, but one of the huge factors is the technology and the social media. So even now in my private practice, I work with all working moms. And my reason for doing that is I felt the best way to help children is to get to their parents, right?
Yes.
So if we are well as mothers and as providers and protectors, our kids are going to have better lives. So that was my angle. And we see it. We see how these social media platforms prey upon children. It's just not safe.
It's not safe. I'm so glad you said that, because really, and it took me a while, instead of just always educating kids, about safety. No, it has to be the parents, the family members, their circle, because they were the ones that needed the help. I think almost more because those are their children or grandchildren or whatever the family unit is, to help them understand, don't be scared of this. Don't let the predators win. Don't let strangers, raise your children. So I'm so glad you said that. So we're doing a lot of work. I'm happy to hear that. What do you think about it? Was just announced. I'm throwing some headlines at you, but I can't help it because you have such an expert, good opinion. I want to hear it all the time. What do you think about Governor Gavin Newsom saying no cell phones in the schools? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think kids should have the cell phones in the schools. It's a complete distraction from education. They're there for one reason. And I think that so much can go wrong. We have, personally, working in schools for 9 years, I saw such huge issues come from kids sharing material they shouldn't have been sharing during school. And having access to those cell phones creates, again, more anxiety. So kids that struggle to be in school in the first place know, okay, well, if I text my mom or I text somebody, they can come get me. It's like, it's an unrealistic lifeline while they're there and supposed to be safe and learning.
Look, I know I date myself, but when I went to school in New Jersey, I had a dime in my coin purse and used the payphone in the basement of the school to call my mom, and it worked just fine. Now, we don't have payphones anymore, but that's another problem. Maybe we have to get back to that, actually, having like a payphone again in schools that kids, can use after school or something like that. We know there's so much coming forth right now, which is, again, really good news. Delay is the way is a hashtag we promote in Washington. Wait until 8th. Another, because again, you can't tell a parent, like, you can't buy your child a cell phone. And then do you encounter these kids? Because I hear this argument from parents a lot. Well, my son or daughter doesn't have a phone, so they feel left out.
Yeah,
do you encounter any of that? What do you, yeah, really? I hear it a lot too. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I live that with my own kids. I say to them flat out, you might hate me now, but you'll understand later. And I explain to them that this is not healthy for your brain. And I know it would be so much easier for mommy to give you a tablet and let you sit there endlessly and watch and game and whatnot. But my kids do have an Amazon Fire tablet that they're only allowed to access on weekends for an hour a day. And don't think that there wasn't a million times that I wanted to just give it to them and, appease them so they would stop with the asking and tantrums. But I will tell you that I'm never going to regret that decision. I know the detriments to the brain. I know how it impacts social development. I'm privy, as you are, to too much information in the law enforcement world where we know that kids are being kidnapped, my children's age, just by going on Roblox and their location being accessible to predators. So we need to be mindful that, kids are engaging in age-appropriate games on the tablets, but there are not safe people that are accessing those apps and those outlets that put our children at more risk. So then you think about even the teens and what they're accessing, and people are disguising themselves, predators, on these apps and social media, and kids are naively going to meet up with them, and they're being trafficked every day in our state of New Jersey.
Every second, Kristen, this is happening. And this is something I never understand. Maybe you can explain a little better in your line of work you do. again, that old, we have seat belts and bicycle helmets, and we put those kind of guardrails, don't drink, don't smoke. But opening up the world, with these devices, the parents, for the most part, don't think this way about the guardrails. Now, yes, COVID brought out a lot of parents finally saw things online when kids were at home using these Chromebooks, government issued, and they started waking up. More people definitely are talking about it. Um, why do you think they fight that so much? Because the other thing I always hear is, going lightly, my kid would never do that. Oh no, my kid.
Nope,
And everything we
exactly.
say can be backed up by studies
Yeah.
that we talk about, whether it's dangerous algorithms, whether it's buying drugs with 2 clicks on Snapchat, all can be backed up. We have all the information. Why do you think they fight it so hard? Because it's not that hard of a thing. So I can never understand why they do this, but they'll put a seatbelt and a bicycle helmet on.
Yeah, I think that that's loaded. So that's my favorite line. Oh, my kid will never do that, or
Right.
this won't impact my child. We talk about this at home. Doesn't matter what you talk about. The influence and social influence during the preteen and teenage years, it's so heavy and strong that it doesn't matter what you're teaching your kids in terms of morals and values at home. They're going to go out into difficult situations and they're going to feel the pressure. And again, we know the brain isn't fully developed, their impulse control, their judgment, until they're well in their 20s. So we're putting our kids out there and they are going to cave to peer pressure at times, right? So we have to be mindful of that and not give them essentially too much credit. They're children. They're still children. We need to be in the driver's seat and protect them at all costs.
I'm glad you said that, because, 16, 17, they're still children. They're still legally minors. We have so many kids. We deal with families here in New York that have done these TikTok influence think they're subway surfing and they're dying. We are working with families where children who have never done any of this kind of stuff have gotten in trouble, nothing, at that split moment, peer pressure, we're going to do it. They're revved up, 14, 15, 16 years old, 17, subway surfing, the most dangerous thing. All kinds of crazy things, jumping on tracks between the rails, trying to
eating
steal
Tide
cars.
Pods, right? I mean, that
Who
was a
would
trend
eat
at
Tide
one point.
Pods? I don't think I'd eat a Tide Pod when I was 3 years old, but I digress. And I'm going to go back on something. So please bear with me. I'm jumping all over. I'm so excited you're here. You're a very nice mom. I'll tell you why. Because if my kids were little right now, I would be like, I pay for that device. I pay for the internet. I pay for all of this. You're not having the device. Do not ask me again. I think I would just probably, now I don't know. I say that, but at the time, if I was in everybody's shoes, I would probably just be beside myself with my kids wearing me down or something like that. It's very tough on the parents. But I wish parents, they have to toughen up about all of these issues, because kids are, I'm going to be very blatant here, warning everybody and putting out, kids are dying, especially teen boys with sextortion, which is escalating. This is something we need to talk about every single day, because it is not in the news enough. People are not speaking about it. It is ugly and dark, but teen boys are being targeted. They're so embarrassed over a nude image, whatever, that they're killing themselves instead of telling parents. I feel like we have to. So it's a nude image. Kristen, I'm seeing in this hot weather in New York City, people walking around practically naked anyway. So like everybody's seeing, I don't know about New Jersey, but in New York, I'm not kidding. They look like they're not even at the beach. They're in the shower. I don't know what they're doing these days, but the kids are seeing all of that anyway. So why aren't we the leaders to say, oh, okay, well, I don't like it. You did it, but let's talk about it. Like, make them, these family partnerships, I think we have to strengthen and stress on that. Let me ask you something. So recently, the American College of Pediatricians, I was actually a little bit shocked about this one, put out about children. I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but children should go through more intense therapy before they're given these puberty blockers and transitioning and all of that. I'm sure you saw this, you're aware of all this. What are your thoughts on that? I'm surprised they flip-flopped, but good news.
Yeah, absolutely. Great news. I think that this is the common sense platform we're talking about that Bill Spadia really was ahead of the game with. We know even in mental health, and I know there's so much attention surrounding this issue and it's become so politicized. Children go through so many different crises, identity crises throughout their adolescence, their preteen, teen years, and who they are supposed to be is never fully developed or understood at that age. So when we allow a child to navigate naturally those stages of development, going through puberty and making it to adulthood prior to making lifelong decisions, I think that's giving a child their best chance at a happy life. When a child comes to you in adolescence and says, I don't feel like myself, maybe I feel like maybe I was born in the wrong body, the first intervention should not be to affirm that, because there's so much that could impact a child's psychosocial development. Trauma, social interaction, bullying, even family crises. So the fact that not everybody, but a vocal few have jumped onto this bandwagon and supported the gender affirming care for minors, I think is criminal and child abuse. I think that we should continue to nurture our kids in a loving way. And we get at Moms for Liberty so much hate for coming out and saying that we do not approve of this practice, giving children hormone blockers that ultimately sterilize them for life. So you have a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, an 11-year-old coming to you and saying, I was born in the wrong body. You're giving them hormone blockers. What happens when they're 20 and they say, oh no, I never had a chance at being a girl. I never had a chance at being a woman. Now I can never have children. That is criminal. We need to use common sense approaches and follow the actual science. So many of these kids that may come out and say that they feel different or don't feel aligned, studies show that as they navigate puberty naturally, they will come out of that gender dysphoria. And some may end up being homosexual. Some may end up being heterosexual. Some may still feel a small percentage that dysphoria, but there are ways to treat psychologically a child in a way that won't harm them permanently.
Look, you hit the nail on the head. It's complete child abuse. I don't care. I don't know who these doctors are who take the oath of do no harm. When I'm hearing stories of 2 and 3-year-olds, I'm saying, what the heck is that? We also know a lot about Planned Parenthood, money-making machine, giving out puberty blockers, abortions. We know. I know I'm digressing, but it's like these aren't even common sense. These are criminal actions. And then to flip it and say, parents are wrong if they want the child not to do this, or if they, want the child secretly to go to school and use, this is crazy. This is just crazy. This is my opinion. And we know this, and you know what? It's not going to stick. And I just want to point out, I started right away out of college in the music business. We're talking over 40 years, Kristen, and being connected to the entertainment business. I have known 2 truly trans people, just 2.
Right.
And they have said to me in the last few years, Lynn, I wouldn't wish this on any child. The lifelong medical problems, the depressions, nothing is solved. They're severely harmed people. Right. And this is coming from 2 people I respect. And they say, this is not for children. This is really, right. And so I'm not understanding all these Hollywood actresses running around. I don't know if you're keeping track of that one. Mm-hmm. It's like a whole gang of them have all of a sudden, I don't know, the daughters are boys. I can name like 10 of them off the top of my head.
Well, I do have to say, in the mental health field, we're seeing, as research starts to come out, that there is a direct connection between the mother's mental health and then the children who are identifying as trans and being affirmed. So we're seeing a lot of personality disorders in the parents. It's almost like a Munchausen's by proxy at times that, engaging in this process. But I do have to say that I feel very strongly about the disservice that this entire movement is doing to any child with gender dysphoria. Because again, we get called out at Moms for Liberty all the time as the hate group and hateful. And, you know, I've sat in board meetings in my own town where these people were telling this group of children that we hated them and they were unsafe because of us. The only thing making those children unsafe in the community is you planting that idea in their minds. Nobody hates a child who is struggling. And I think that it's very dangerous to have that put into a child's brain just because we believe differently, that child should be able to navigate their psychosocial developmental process differently. But to continue to say that people hate them is very detrimental to their mental health.
Well, listen, this is part of the reason we have such a tremendous, as you know, youth mental health crisis going on.
Yeah.
It's all of this confusion the kids are seeing. I also have a lot of parents say, oh, the kids aren't paying attention. Because I'll say to the groups, the focus groups with adults, you know, you have to be a role model too and put down the device at the dinner table or at night. You have to say, okay, I'm putting my device away too. And they're like, the kids aren't watching. And I'm like, and I don't have your credentials, but I'm like, the kids are watching everything. The kids absorb, those little brains absorb and see everything. They are watching, learning, looking. You have to be the role model. I say parent up. I've started that one in the last year. As a mom, let me ask you. So we want the kids. I, of course, want all children and teens to be reading books all summer because I think there's nothing like an actual book, you know, pages, accomplishment. When you get to the end of it, you're done, you're finished. You talk about it. Of course, the mom and dad would have to read the book too to have a little family book club. Give us some tips for the summer now that kids are finished or will be finished any moment now in school, more time on their hands. We want the devices down. What are some of the things you recommend that kids can do?
Yeah, I think the biggest disservice we're doing to our children now is keeping them too busy, always having structured activities for them. Kids were meant to learn and grow and develop by interacting and playing and pretend play. Even at that preteen stage, they need to be able to navigate their world and find ways to keep themselves busy. So the electronics and the TV, I keep the time limit the same in the summer as I do during the year, which is hard because they're on the Chromebooks during the year at school. Mm-hmm. But I literally, as much, and I'm not saying this is easy, and I'm not saying there's days I don't cave and say, fine, watch another half hour of TV, but I send my kids to their rooms to figure it out. And they get so angry some days. And then I find them, my daughter making bracelets, my son playing with Legos, doing things that we used to do as children. These kids think they're bored if they don't have an activity for 5 minutes. We need to help them navigate and develop their brain in a healthier manner. And that's not going to happen by watching TV and being on a tablet.
No, but do you suggest, I want to give chores, scrubbing out the bathtub, scrubbing, physical, you know, that'll tire them out. Go and sweep and weed in the backyard. No, I'm not kidding. Like, actually, if I had to do it all over again, because I think, Kristen, my generation, like my kids are all in their 30s now. Mm-hmm. I didn't know, like right away, the child was like a month old and they're signing up for Mommy and Me. They're having play dates. And I'm like, but they're like 6 weeks old. They don't even know. Right. And I saw that progression of like every minute was this, that, extra lessons for dance and ice skating and baseball. I think it comes from like back in the 80s. I'm not kidding. Like that leading up to now, and that became the norm. I'm also, kids have to, I don't like the word have to, but have to participate in, I was bad at this because I did everything myself. Participate in household chores more.
They absolutely do. My kids have chores. They know garbage night is Thursday night. Garbage day is Friday.
That's why you're our role model warrior.
I wouldn't say that, but they know that they're in charge of emptying out all the little garbages all over the house and bringing it down. And they have their little chores. One helps set the table. One helps clean up. I'm not saying they always do. At times we have to engage in a back and forth to get that done. But kids need to be held accountable, even when they don't do it. They need to be taught that they have to have accountability. And that's what's missing. Kids
Yes.
Kids have so many excuses. I mean, adults do too nowadays. So we want to make sure we're giving our kids the best shot and holding them accountable and giving them chores, because that also makes them feel good. It makes them feel like a productive part of the family.
Yeah, it's like my reading the book. You feel good when you get to the end and you're done. You close,
Right.
you know, the back
Exactly.
cover. I'm just talking endlessly about books lately. Finish us up with what are some top issues for you in New Jersey you want
Yep.
somebody listening? Because
Yes.
although you're in New Jersey, all of these are really national issues as
Yep.
well. So and you're at the
Yeah.
forefront of all of this. So fill us in. What do you want people to be looking at?
Yeah. So what we're fighting hard at the state level. We're in Trenton a lot. We're working as Moms for Liberty. I work with a parental rights coalition, people from all across the state who are such warriors. And the one bill, well, there's 3 bills right now that we're really focused on, but the one freedom to read bill, this
Mhm.
bill essentially gives librarians and school staff civil and criminal immunity to violating the New Jersey obscenity statute. So those books that myself and several other parents were exposing when we got sued, those books are in schools all over the state. They have nudity. They're pornographic in every sense of the word. They have tutorials on how to take topless selfies. They have literal pages encouraging children to go on Grindr, which is a sex.
Criminal. I'm yelling out here. Criminal.
It's criminal. So these books are already in the school system. They have literally put protections for school staff sharing this material in this bill. And we testified about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And one of the most disturbing things that I heard during another librarian's testimony, she was questioned by one of our assembly women from my district, Dawn Fantasia. She asked her, so do you believe there should be age restrictions? Like, do you think any of this material, the obscene material, should be restricted based on age? Like maybe a 10-year-old shouldn't be seeing this, but a 17-year-old could. And she said that she did not believe any of the material was obscene and that only a court could decide that, and that restricting access to any of this material was, quote, censorship. And she did not support that. So this is one of the leaders who is working with the American Library Association, who wrote this bill and pushing it into every state to try to have protection around this material being in there for children. And by the way, they are pushing it under the DEI umbrella, stating that it is inclusive to have this material for LGBTQ children. Well, guess what? Any child struggling with their identity in any way should never be led to find themselves through sex and kink. That is detrimental, and I believe, in my opinion, highly dangerous.
You know what? I was reading all about that through your postings. I know Dawn Fantasia, Josh Akins. I was like, this is so crazy. I mean, this is a family program, The Warriors, but like BS.
Yep.
I mean, this is unbelievable. But that is another program when you dig deeper into the American Library, who's running that and funding. And so we'll leave that for another program. Listen, people in the good citizens of New Jersey don't want this. Nobody in America wants this. The crazy handful that want it. This is just my opinion. I know it's not you right now. Ludicrous. You're going to come out on top. I don't know when this is. It's going to happen. It's going to happen with the Bill Spadia. It's going to happen. We have an election. I don't even know, 140 days from now. People have to wake up. We have to talk about these issues, discuss them, help other people understand, because you're not going to really hear it in mainstream media too much. So we have to explain to everybody, and you're doing a wonderful job. Finish us up with some final words. What do you have for us?
Yeah, listen, reach out. Moms for Liberty is a wonderful organization. We're full of moms, dads, grandparents, and we really, our goal is to unify and fight for America. And we're not going to survive unless people stand up against the government overreach. And just to be clear, that does not make us anti-government. We are absolutely fighting for parental rights and parental autonomy. We have the right to direct the upbringing of our children. And if we could leave you with anything today, if any of this sounds concerning to you, reach out, because there's so much more, and we can help you find your voice. Reach out, momsforliberty.org, find a chapter, reach out to me. We need to stand up before it's too late. And our children are the most important people in our lives. We need to show them that. We need to show them how to stand up against this chaos and madness.
Well said. Our future adults, our future leaders, our precious kids. I'm going to have all of your information, Kristen, in the body of this video. I will include your contact, if that's okay with you, so people can reach out, because I deal with a lot of parents. They're like, I don't know what to do. And you know what they do? Because they get overwhelmed, they do nothing. When they're overwhelmed, we have to really help them and cheerlead and warrior them up. Kristen Cobo, thank you for taking the time today. I'm very excited about this march in Washington, August 31st, marchforkids.com. I want everybody to follow you on Twitter at Cobo Kristen. I mean, X, I called it Twitter.
Yeah.
I can't help it. You are the best. Thank you for spending the time with us. Let us talk again before. There's so much going on. We need to talk more often, and especially before the march. We want everybody to show up there. We want to get buses. We want people traveling down to Washington, across the United States to Washington. The fight has just begun, and you know what? I feel like it's going to be in our favor, our children's favor. So, Kristen Cobo, thank you for all you do. You really are a warrior. Have a terrific summer, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Lynn. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.